This is episode 39 of the Startups Without Borders podcast. Born in Peru, Luis Daniel Maldonado comes from multicultural family origins. In fact, there is Chinese, Spanish, Italian, Nordic, and Slavic blood running through his veins. Driven by the need to find his own place, while at the same time valuing his ancestors, he moved to the Netherlands in 2016. Navigating the startup visa, he started businesses in 7 different countries with minimum capital, including a business he started in Finland with only €5. Today, Luis runs Matrix Q Games, a gamified school for entrepreneurs and a startup school. Listen to his powerful story and gear up to learn how to start a business in any place. Hi, Luis. Welcome to the Startups Without Borders podcast. I'm super excited to have you today.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. Should
Thank
be a
you.
very nice afternoon. Yes.
Looking forward to it, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us again. I'm very curious about your story. You've started businesses in 7 different countries, setting off from your home country and taking all over the world, basically navigating startup visas all around the world. Can you tell us, where did it all start? How did it start? And why did you leave your home country?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Let's say that everything started when I was working as a consultant, as a software developer. And I was wondering about how teams could be improved. And the challenge with teams is that you have not only different disciplines and age groups, but also you have many different cultures. So I came to the idea to create a workshop at university to bring all of these people together and explore how to enhance our ability to communicate and collaborate when we come from different professional backgrounds. So the experience was really fascinating. We were since 1993 until 1997, exploring through workshops, through activities, through training, games. I probably ran one of the first gamified programs for leadership team building. So the experience was so interesting that I decided to create a new stream for my professional interest working with human capital, and certainly explore how this training system could work in different conditions. So I did try it at university, we did work on social impact projects, and then say, what happened if I bring it to an NGO working in sustainable development? What if I bring travelers together that are working as volunteers, working in community development? So that motivated me to travel, just to explore, to find out if these tools, this knowledge, the skills I developed would be really useful in different contexts and industries. And it was. So slowly along my trips, I will collaborate with projects on sustainable development in different cities, and as well, train more people, test the tools, create workshops. Suddenly, I discovered I have so much fun. I arrive to a place, work with some people, help in some projects, then I move on to the next location. So I was in South America working in about 14 different locations, collaborating spontaneously with different type of projects, from business, travel industry to sustainability. And that's where all started. And then suddenly I was creating a bridge between Europe and Latin America, and later on traveling mostly in Europe, right? So
Wow. I'm fascinated by the combination between the tech world, between innovation, algorithms, and this study and this passion that you have for ancient civilizations. And I want
yes,
to dive into that a little bit, because today you
sure.
run a gamified school for entrepreneurs, which
Yes.
kind of integrates all of that study, all of that research that you did in ancient civilization, and all these methods that you discovered to create algorithms.
Mhm.
Tell us about it. I'm very intrigued, I would say.
Thank you for the question, because it's really fascinating. Imagine that you participate in activities that are gamified. And through playing those games, you learn something new. For example, tools and knowledge that you need really for your business. But at the same time, you learn how to create a positive impact in the world. And slowly you realize you also start earning some money. you create passive income assets, you start innovating, creating designs for new products, and suddenly you build up your own company, your own concepts, and you are there with your own startup. So it's a step-by-step process that is fully gamified, holistic, tokenized. We have 12 different levels of work, like different levels of the game, and a system with rank and expertise belts, and so on. So it's very much a game for entrepreneurs. And you can decide to start as a solo, entrepreneur, developing your skills as consultant, working on building passive income assets, or come with your startup and participate in an incubation program, develop it, develop your startup, become a label partner. So there's so many things to do. And the new thing that we are implementing in these months is a human capital service. So we are recruiting talents, training them with our tools, and then we're planning to list them to the startups that are joining us so that we can give them a human capital that's really prepared with the mindset of entrepreneurs, So it's really fascinating. And now, the connection with the ancient cultures and civilizations, it's something that I actually didn't expect. When I was a kid, my parents will bring me to these archaeological sites with all the friends from different disciplines. My parents were biologists, and they would have anthropologists, mathematicians, and everybody talking about so many theories. And I got fascinated by the mathematics and the geometry of these places. So more and more I was learning about these cultural sites and the belief systems, the culture. I realized that certainly they will use nature principles. And the questions that arrived in my mind traveling was how these ancient cultures did live in the past in relative harmony with nature. The civilizations did grow tremendously. Why did they fall? And what can we learn about them? About leadership, about education, about values, about technology. And I discovered that most of these most important cultures will use mathematics of nature systems, a symbolic language that help people learn very quick in a holistic way. And bam, it was there. A new system of algorithms that is holistic. And I said, wow, this is fascinating. We can use it for education, and we can use it to produce new technology. We can use it for innovation. And suddenly, I had in my hands the foundation for a new body of knowledge that could be a source for many beautiful things for humanity. And that is, slowly we're building it up, training more people, grounding this research institute, trying out with companies. And right now we have this gamified platform, So it has been really an adventure, I'm very, very glad for it.
Indeed, an adventure. I mean, I've read through your bio, I've read through your profile and the amazing things that you've done, and it all sounds so sophisticated, so fascinating. But there's also a very interesting story of struggle, a very interesting story of making it from scratch, right? I would say you're the true definition of a bootstrapper. You've started businesses, with no capital. In Finland, you started with only €5, right? Tell us a little bit about that. So many entrepreneurs in our community, they have ideas, they have a burning desire to start a business. But there's this, idea that we need capital. How did you do it with only €5?
Well, first of all, I would say that it's true. We need capital, right?
Right.
But we also need to set correct expectations. And yesterday, there was a new member of our network saying, I have this wonderful idea, but I don't have the capital. I don't have the time. But the minimum amount of time you have combined with the budget or no budget you have should be enough. And what I would like to share with you and everybody listening to us is that you can really start your dreams. It doesn't matter how much time you have or how much money you have, the resources, the conditions. There is never the right time. There are never the right conditions. It's all about you starting doing what you know you need to do and building up step by step, one brick at a time. And what you need certainly is patience. And in all of these situations, obviously, there are many stories. For example, in Finland, suddenly I realized my visa was canceled in Germany. I have to renew the visa but I could not travel back to Germany. So the Finnish government told me, yeah, we're going to give you a new visa, but for a while, you will not have a working permit anymore. I was working at that time for another company. So I will wait. And I was coming out of a trip of 2 years and a half. So I had a very limited budget. So I was working as a consultant, for this company. And then suddenly, I couldn't work anymore.
Right.
And that was a challenge. So I started depleting all my savings one more time. And I had to come into deals with my network, build a complete new network, and use everything I learned in my trips before. And I really didn't expect to come to that type of, lifestyle traveling, relationship with my network again. That was the year 2014. I didn't expect to go there one more time. But then suddenly I found myself in a traveler's lodge, with €5 in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I remember myself recording this webinar about wealth ability and learning about the mindset for generating wealth and doing business. And sharing in this webinar, and today, I'm sharing with you this story and all about the skills and the tools that we can use. And I have €5 in my pocket, and that should be enough. And it was enough. It was enough to start, to continue, to come to the Netherlands and start a business that we're running today. And I think it's all about a positive mindset and to know your skills. You need a lot of self-knowledge to know your limits and in which situations you're good to manage yourself. And you need tools. You need tools to, for example, do a good strategy, to orient yourself, to keep in mind your mission and the positive impact you create and how you create the revenues, where the money comes from. You need tools to orient yourself. And very important, you need tools to work with your own mind and with your own emotions, because that is what will bring you out of any situation or that will bring you forward. So if you know how to use your emotions to manage your time, to create decisions, to collaborate, and to transform these negative emotions or thoughts that from time to time will come. You will feel uncertain, you will feel it's too complex, you will be afraid, and all of that you have to take in and keep moving forward. So you really need to have these skills and these tools, to help yourself on the way. And just you need patience and trust, that's all.
I love what you're saying, right? Because it's always the building of a business while the building of an entrepreneur, right? And working on your mindset is so, so important. Although I do have a curiosity in my mind, what did you use the €5 for?
Okay, I did use the €5 to travel from this backpacker's lodge to visit a person that will purchase a little service from me, and then it will have then after that €15. So the next day I will come back to the traveler's lodge, pay for the lodge, have something to eat, and the next morning I will travel again with the rest of the money to deliver one more time a little service, but this time the service will be for maybe €50, right? And the whole key is you need to know what your customers want or the opportunities you have in that situation. You need to see very good which are your opportunities and what these people would like to do for you. And you cannot push them, even if you do not have the money you want, you can just not push them to do something. For example, in Switzerland, when I arrived to Switzerland from Chile, for my budget in South America, I have enough budget for a year in South America. But in Switzerland, it was very little. 3 months was gone. Yeah. So I ended up one more time with 50 Swiss francs. And I wanted to build a business. I did learn the language. I learned about the laws. I had the permits. And I decided to build a business in a language school, So I learned that I needed some books and materials, and I could produce a training program of 27 days that will be really effective, experiential. But I will have need like €1,000 to, buy all of these materials and give all this training. So what I did is to find the first book that I needed to use that I will give to my customer for my customer to learn, include it in a package and sell something, that probably won't be enough to buy all the equipment, all the materials I need, but enough to start. So in the first customer, I actually have very, very little profit, but I got all the materials I needed. So my second customer will be a lot more easy. I will earn a lot more. And I will start selling packages of 2,500 euros at a time. So very little in 3 to 6 months, I will earn 6,000 per month. And that was really making it for me to start a business in Switzerland, right? So from 50 euros to 6,000 per month, I think it's a good curve. And those things need to be done, but you really need to plan the products and plan how to sell, in different stages, service to your customers. And
Right.
yeah, mhm,
It's
certainly bootstrapping.
fascinating. It's fascinating, and it reminded me also the story behind Airbnb and then them selling cereals at the beginning, right? It's that ingenuity of understanding. I need capital, but I'm not going to let this stop me. I'm going to, find the capital through
Yes,
other entrepreneurial activities.
there is always a way to do that. Yes, certainly. There is always a way to do that.
Amazing. Amazing. And in
Yes.
this journey, in this, transition through many, many countries and several companies that you founded, you also
Hmm.
managed to navigate the startup visa. Now, the startup visa
Yes.
is a hot topic today. It gives the opportunity to lots of talented entrepreneurs to move to countries where there is more support, where there is a better ecosystem, or countries that are simply sometimes just safer, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
we always say at Startups Without Borders, talent doesn't have a passport. But the sad reality is that some passports allow us to travel more than others, right? And the
Uh-huh.
startup visa is that new method or that new tool that allow us to really, value those ideas, those entrepreneurial minds that are looking for places for their ideas to thrive.
Hmm.
So, what would be your advice for entrepreneurs who are looking, for startup visa opportunities, who are looking for markets that are promising? You have navigated that in so many different ways in so many countries. What would be your advice?
It's a very good question. And I think everything depends on the entrepreneur and the country you arrive. And every
Mm,
country have its own business culture. And that's probably one of the most challenging things because you arrive blindfolded. You don't know the language, you don't know the signs. You really need to, get some goals and outcome. Because to get the visa to start in the country is only the first step. The second
mm,
step is that visa will need to be renewed, extended, for which you need to get some points for the local government. You need to convince the local government that you're good at entrepreneurship, that your product has value for the local market and the country, and that you can sustain yourself with your business. And all of that is, you cannot take it for granted. One thing is at home, you do it with your own network, with the people and you have all of these resources, you know how it works. But then suddenly you're a completely new space. And with startups, the thing is that everybody waits for a new startup to come because the services around expect you to come with a budget, with capital, so that you are going to purchase things from them. So everybody's looking for you. A nice pond, fish in the pond. Everybody's happy you are here because everybody wants to sell you something. But you don't need everything. You need to be really wise and smart. So I think um, it's also a question of learning about the knowledge, the skills, and tools you have, and finding the right package, the right way to adapt them to the location and to the situation. So, uh, in all of these years, probably what I have learned the most is that an agile approach, is the best because it helps you to create a simple product that will help you test and learn and improve and evolve with the market, with the customers, and slowly find the right match. Because what you want is not only to bring your ideas forward, you want to create a business. So you really need the customers to communicate with you, and you really need to learn with them at the same time. If you come straight forward with a big investment, assuming that the things will work just because you have a great idea, that probably will not work. So, and I think that's probably a good lesson, And
mm.
even when things start working at the beginning, you need to be ready to really move through the following 3-4 years and keep changing, right? Um,
Right.
yes.
Was there, tell us a little bit about which were these countries, and was there a particular one where you found the process to be smooth?
Hmm, that's a good question. Um, well, I think the first time as an adult that I left South America, Peru, to Switzerland, the only reason why they let me come to Switzerland was because I was doing business. I have an income in Peru. Then I was also in Chile, also stayed in Chile for a year because of a business residence permit. In Germany, I also was allowed to stay longer because of a business that I was founding. I was having business in Austria, um, also here in the Netherlands. In Finland, I was also, starting a whole network, for business too. Um, so, yeah, I think the greatest um, dilemma, when you're doing all of those trips and having all of these challenges, is that you really need to be prepared to learn a new culture, as I said, right? And yeah, by all means, you need to be flexible, right? Um, I think there was no smooth transition. You always get the cultural shock. You always get the business culture shock. You always get these trust issues that are proper of the cultural shock, right? You get to find who to trust and who not to. And you need to recover the strength and trust in yourself and say, okay, maybe I don't know anybody, but I know I can do this. And start learning on the go and building up new meaningful and trusting relationships, that last for longer. And when you are really investing yourself into that, then the process is smooth. But there will be moments of confusion and doubt, that you're very vulnerable. And those moments are probably the most challenging ones, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you just touched on a very important point: building relationships, building true, genuine connections, which
Yes.
eventually that's the network, right? And that's the network that's going
Yes.
to allow you to thrive. So, what is your advice as a newcomer entrepreneur? Lots of entrepreneurs in our community are migrants, refugees, and you know, by definition, you don't have a network where in the new
Yeah.
country where you arrive. How can they start
Yes.
building that network and those true connections, as you said?
Yeah, that's very important. Probably the most important thing, because when you arrive to a new country, you have to really compete with the local market. Even if you come with an innovation, the challenge is you have to communicate innovation to local people, and then your first connection locally, they are used to have a network for so many years. They take it for granted that you should have a network, so they will not perceive that you need an extra support or that there are some things that you are missing, because they don't need that. They are not aware of that. They never left the country to start a business somewhere else. That's
Yeah.
you. So you really need to see which is this vacuum that you carry. What are the needs that you have that these people you are communicating with do not understand, and be able to communicate them properly from the point of view of you being new, completely new at the location. Um, so probably for me, what did work the best, and I can make a list of different things, but um, one of them is to be really honest with yourself about how you feel, about the strengths you have, about the things you really need, and the challenge with the perception you have, how difficult it look, or you don't know how challenging it would be, you feel uncertain, and talk to people. Try to ask questions about how things work in the country because you are new, and let them advise you. But be aware that you're also a fish blindfolded in a pond. So that means that every question you ask gives to somebody the opportunity to fish you. So you also need to be aware of that, be responsible, and you cannot just follow any advice. The second thing is you need to be also honest with others about what you want. Not every opportunity is a good choice. Sometimes you need to break it on purpose and tell to people things that they don't like, because it's better that that clarity is there since the beginning. Otherwise, you will carry, a heavy weight that you don't need later. You need to be flexible and move faster. You cannot do commitments because opportunities you took that will block the development of your business later on, right? And I think if you are honest, You really know how to express what you really want, and you do something that is fun for you, because you're getting married with your business for a long time. So it need to be something that is interesting for you, that motivates you to learn all the time, in which you get energy out of the work. Otherwise, it's very tough. Next to the location, the people, the culture, the language, on top of that, to do something that it's like dry, that you took only because it's an opportunity, yeah, it's not going to work that much. It's going to drain you. You can burn out very quick. So
Yeah.
you really need to be smart. Not everything that is fit for the market, it's fit for you as an entrepreneur arriving to a new country.
Yeah.
There you need to be really wise in the choice.
That's such an interesting point. And I love the metaphor of the fish in the pond. I think that's such a good way to put it. Um, Luis, as you were saying at the beginning, you started off with a journey that was as much personal as it was innovative and seeking opportunity, right? There's in your
Mhm.
blood, there's so much of Chinese culture, there is Italian, there's Spanish, there's a fusion of civilizations. And you set off on a journey to research, to understand these civilizations. Where did that
Yes.
journey take you?
Thank you for the question. That's really, really important for me. That was also motivated me to travel, right? And to meet people from different cultures. Um, yeah, as you say, I have also African,
Wow.
bloodline, Nordic, Slavic. I just researched on all of these sources. And um, at the beginning, it was interesting because I will feel familiar, for example, with the Chinese culture. I will
Mm,
practice a lot Eastern, practices on martial arts, Chinese medicine, but
mm,
I will have interest in great diversity. So I will have to make sense of all this diversity of interest within myself, to my familiarity with all of these cultures, also. And it was challenging at the beginning to find an identity, having family members and histories from so many different places. I think to travel helped me to understand myself more as a global citizen, and realize that by embracing this diversity and trying to find the right center for all of this, I will be more happy, more full. So I think the outcome for me was to develop many different talents and skills, the combination of all of that. But probably what helped me the most was to focus on something that's universal, which is how nature works. Instead of focusing on different cultures, that this diversity, which is beautiful, focusing on what all of these cultures have in common. And for
mm.
example, the mathematics of nature, the complex systems of nature, is something that we have in common all around the world. That's a completely new language, a new way to understand the world, right? Using nature principles, cycles, rhythms, laws. And I made out of that my culture. So it's a combination of science and multidisciplinary, multicultural, understanding of life. Today, the outcome of that personal interest have influenced very much my work and my point of view. So I can say today I feel more like a global citizen, and I feel like embracing different civilizations, cultures, beliefs, disciplines, and people from all paths of life. And the work we do in the Matrix ecosystem is so inclusive because of that reason. Because I had to go through those edges, through the border, connecting, creating bridges all the time. And as an innovator, that exercise has been very helpful too, because you need to start thinking out of the box and connecting to all of these cultures. You really do need to think out of the box to go out of your own mindset. So all in all, have been a blessing. At the beginning, it started like, yeah, a challenge, how to make sense of this diversity inside myself. And today, I'm grateful for that, right?
Oh my God, you're speaking music to my ears because that's the main thesis and that's the main passion that we have with Startups Without Borders, right? This idea that in order to innovate, having different perspectives and different mindsets and the richness that is cultural diversity is essential. So I
Yes.
love that. And before you go, Luis, I wanted to ask you because yesterday you mentioned something that made me very curious. You said that you developed an approach for entrepreneurs to support entrepreneurs
Huh?
that is in a very holistic way that is threefold. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, for sure. It's actually ninefold, but we start with a triangle.
Mhm.
We call it the golden triangle of entrepreneurship, and it helps you to orient yourself. It's a data-driven tool that everybody can learn. It's super simple to learn. Even children can learn it. And in principle, it helps you to keep a balance between your mission, the impact you create, and how you generate revenues.
Mm.
And this is what we call the golden triangle. Because today, with any company we want to develop, we need to be responsible about the impact we create in the world. It doesn't matter what we do as entrepreneurs. Ideal it is it to be aligned to our own personal purpose and mission statement. We need to understand also the mission of the company clearly so that we, develop ourselves as good leaders. And certainly, we need to know how to make the money because that's the fuel that makes the company move. So the balance between these three is important, but it's not a theoretical balance. It's very pragmatic. So the tool helps us to create cycles in time so that we can review the different aspects of the business, the whole business cycle based on this, triangle, that balance. And for example, I'm using a new algorithm based on Fibonacci that help us, follow these nature principles and rhythms, creating a very holistic business process, And in that sense, our team members, the products, the way we do business is more in balance with life. So the work-life balance is included. It's more balanced with the impact we create. And it's really inspiring for us as entrepreneurs. It's always creative, always open, always new things to learn, new worlds to discover. The tool also helps us to create a new language to discover leadership styles or different ways of learning or create a new perception of economy, different forms of value. We're using it at the moment for the gamification of the platform, for the tokenization of the platform too. And very important, we're using it to create this holistic education system that we use. And probably you know about this, the United Nations since the last century have been working on global education. A completely new concept integrating cultures and civilizations. Well, today they arrived to this new proposal, so beautiful, about holistic education. And I've been following all of this process of United Nations, since the last century. And yeah, I'm glad to say today that we match 97% of these standards of holistic education with our data-driven tools. And the reason for that is that we're using this model, which is holistic, complete, to deliver education and business process and learning, multi-generational, inclusive. And all in all sounds probably a lot of good things coming from one single tool. But this is the magic created by this type of algorithms, that you can solve complexity with very, very simple tools. And you just need to exercise the use of them. And the same way that you can go to the gym or do sports, every day you exercise them, your brain gets used to use them. It's a combination between your human competences, automated tools, and in the close future, we'll have the full power of artificial intelligence also helping us, with, data analytics for this. So it's really a fascinating thing. And I really would love every entrepreneur to learn about it. So everybody's welcome.
Definitely. Oh my God, definitely. It sounds really interesting. It sounds very useful because, as you said, right, as we said throughout the conversation, I think there's this merge between building businesses and building the persona or building the person, right, the individual that is going to leave a mark in the world. Thank you so much, Luis. It has been very insightful. We've learned so much from you, and we hope to keep learning more with Matrix Q. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It has been very nice to have this conversation with you. And yeah, I wish to keep talking together, right? And networking.
Definitely, sure. Definitely. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.
You too as well.